This special series of the Leaders in Payments podcast focuses on Omnicommerce and is being brought to you in collaboration with Worldpay. Worldpay powers businesses across the globe to make, take, and manage payments, whether online, in-store, or mobile. You'll find Worldpay at the heart of great commerce experiences globally. In this 5-part series, we'll dive deep into seamless commerce experiences across all customer journeys, including from the consumer and merchant perspectives. We'll also look at solutions in the market today and where Omnicommerce is heading in the future.
Hello and welcome everyone to this, the 5th and final episode in our series in collaboration with Worldpay about Omnicommerce. Today we're going to be talking about the future of Omnicommerce. In the last episode, we discussed Worldpay's Omnicommerce solution called Commerce 360. So I suggest you go back and take a listen to that episode as well. It was episode 332. Joining me today is Yael Barak, the VP of Product Management here at Worldpay. Thank you so much for being here today and welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So let's go ahead and dive in. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your role at Worldpay.
Sure. So at Worldpay, I lead our product team that is thinking about solutions and products for small businesses in the U.S. Sometimes we go direct to these small businesses. Sometimes we partner with financial institutions like banks, in which case the products that we sell are in the context of services that these merchants get from banks. So it's a kind of a different environment. And sometimes we work with other kinds of partners. So I guess the common denominator is it's all small business, small ranging from very, very, very small micro merchants, 2 to 3 people working in a business, all the way to what we might even consider small enterprise, maybe businesses with a few locations.
Okay. And, for those that have listened to this series, we've really been focusing on Worldpay from that kind of focus, the Omnicommerce for small business merchants. But just so people understand, Worldpay obviously is much, much more than that. So maybe give us a broad overview of what Worldpay does holistically.
Of course. So yes, Worldpay is a beast of a company, one of the largest acquirers of payments, merchant payments in the world, live in more than 80 countries and supporting businesses all the way from, the small micro merchants that I support to global enterprises, wholesale names that everyone knows, recognizes, and probably interacts with every day. A variety of services from accepting card payments and alternate payment methods to being able to make payouts and foreign exchange, treasury type movements of currencies, solutions like point of sale. So, technology that you have in stores, as well as e-commerce, and also some very niche verticals that require maybe a higher adherence to strict regulatory and compliance requirements. So very, very vast and expansive in terms of our breadth of solutions and merchants that we work with.
So for this episode, let's talk about the future of Omnicommerce from 2 perspectives. Let's talk about Omnicommerce, where it's heading, and then the future of your specific solution, Commerce 360. So first, let's talk about Omnicommerce today, and meeting customers where they are. That's sort of been the theme of what we've talked about. Maybe talk about Omnicommerce, but what's next?
Sure. So we have been talking about, like you say, meeting customers where they are, mostly from the perspective of their physical context and like what kind of devices they're on or what situation they're in, whether it's online or in store. I think the next interesting thing is to be meeting them at like a hyper-contextualized use case. So, for example, it's not just the fact that I'm online. With a lot of AI applications that we are starting to see come to market, I can actually be very hyper-focused on the context that they're in and what they might be looking to do or buy. And so maybe instead of waiting for them to reach the merchant, a merchant with the tools that we give them can get to the customer at the right moment in time in which they're looking for a product or service with the right offer at the right price point, and of course, using the right payment method and the right channel of commerce. So I think it's really taking it to the next level of being in the context of the customer and very focused on what the customer is looking to achieve in that moment and the considerations that they're taking.
And one of the things that we often talk about, and even the word omnicommerce has the word commerce in it. And the way you've described over the last few episodes, obviously it's much bigger than just the commerce part, which is huge in and of itself. But, do merchants want a solution that helps them run all aspects of their business? I mean, if you agree, then what would some of those things be in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to see some of that today. Again, I'm going to lean on AI here, but something that we've been working on with our partners is tools that help a merchant, let's say, list inventory on their website. So if I'm a merchant, a small merchant with, let's say, 100 SKUs, 200 SKUs in my store, probably I'm not using enterprise level tools to build and manage my inventory. But a nice tool from, that's AI driven can help me do that easily. We consume a spreadsheet, build from that, let's say a menu from a restaurant with product descriptions, with modifiers, or from a retailer, build my inventory, list it on my website or on my mobile app, do the pricing for me. Those are things that we're already starting to work on. And I can see that extending into how do I then, if I'm an online retailer that works with logistic companies, like for shipping product, how do I optimize the way I ship multinationally? How do I work with the different customs in all of the countries that I ship to? Those things exist today, but they exist as, let's call it maybe hard-coded, like a presets capabilities. If I'm going to ship to this country, it's going to be the supplier, it's going to take the customs is going to be this much. But maybe to help merchants overcome setting all that up, we can give them tools that intelligently do it for them.
So thinking maybe outside the box a little, so outside of inventory and payments, I mean, I assume if you just put yourself in the shoes of a small business owner, any aspect of running their business could be from getting a bank loan to getting paying payroll to your employees to insurance for your business to, I mean, you could just kind of go down the list of everything that they may do to run their business. I mean, is that kind of the vision that you think will eventually happen for Commerce 360 and kind of the word omnicommerce?
Sure. And again, the part of it is already happening, both in Commerce 360 and in other I would say, embedded finance type product offerings from Worldpay and others. So yes, there are products like, you mentioned all of them, insurance and payroll management and small business lending. And today they are being offered perhaps kind of a la carte. Here's a menu of things we can do for you. And then in the future, of course, continuing on the theme of context, they will be offered at the right point in time and at the right configuration. So if it's a loan, knowing exactly how much a merchant might be looking to finance or who the right provider of that financing is because of their, level of the amounts that they want to lend or the level of risk that they're willing to take on merchants, the terms that they're willing to offer. Those are things that are going to start coming into, I would call it the merchant experience, learning from the B2C experience of getting offers to customers at the right time, in the right context, for the right price point, through cues and data that is coming through our systems, like their transaction volume, like their seasonality, like things like their, levels of refunds, maybe of chargebacks. So being able to project or forecast a business that might need some cash induction, or a business that is seasonal and maybe needs to tide over for the next little bit of time. Those are absolutely all things that we're looking to transform from being fixed, like I said, here's a menu of all the things we can do for you, to being targeted, not just to the profile of a merchant, but also to the point in time and events that are happening for that merchant.
Yeah, I almost think that there's like another term or concept that will emerge that will encapsulate, sort of that exact idea, because you're talking really about running your business, not just commerce. So what do you think about that?
We see in many verticals today all of the business management software platforms that it almost seems like every vertical has its platform today. I've seen platforms for, I'm not kidding, funeral homes management, right? That's pretty niche.
Right.
But so someone figured out, though, that vertical has specific needs that aren't covered by generic solutions. So all these things are already happening, and they're just going to continue to accelerate. Where we're going to sit in the middle is by providing the infrastructure and the, I would say, rails on which all of these platforms can run. So if I go back to our Commerce 360 platform, it can extend to different use cases of merchants, either by us building into different verticals, or today we already have a partnership marketplace where other software providers can come in and literally build plugins into the point of sale, so that if you are that niche business that relies on very specific requirements, functionalities, services, you don't necessarily have to wait for Worldpay to build it. Worldpay can provide a platform on which others can come in and enhance and participate in this marketplace.
Well, I think that's a good segue. You mentioned Commerce 360. So let's kind of flip over to talking about that again. So maybe for those who haven't, listened to a prior episode, can you just give us the high-level overview of what the product is today?
Absolutely. So Commerce 360 is an omni-channel point-of-sale solution for businesses ranging in size from micro to, I would say, probably like small enterprise. It's got different form factors of the actual point of sale terminal. So again, if you're a very small business, something very simple, or if you're a more sophisticated business that also has some requirements for, the look and feel of the solution that you have in-house, and it gets pretty sophisticated and pretty nice in terms of form factor. But it also allows you to run from the same system your retail location, your online, your call center, for example, your services, if you have people calling in. There's a dashboard and a portal that sits in the center of it, from which a merchant can interact with all of the different products and services that Commerce 360 provides. So it's all run from that central location, which again gives you that omni-channel experience of wherever your customer is coming from, they're coming into the same platform that you are working with.
Okay. And then if you don't mind, share at least what you can about the product roadmap and where the product is headed in the near-term future.
Sure. So things that we're working on right now, I would say, first of all, extending the number of payment methods that a merchant can accept, and also the types of payment rails that those methods work on. So very soon we will have a tap to pay on phone option, Commerce 360. So merchants will be able to accept payments without actually having a payment terminal, just by using their mobile phone. And then I think things that you'll start seeing unfold is going deep into certain verticals. So that, if you're running a salon, if you're running a bar, if you're running a lawn care business, you'll start seeing more features that make sense in the context of your business. It might be appointment booking. It might be the ability to manage customer profiles and invoices and all of that. And we already have all these things, but going deeper and deeper into your ability to customize them for your business and your use cases and the things that matter to you.
And as we kind of step back and really kind of look at the product from a futuristic perspective, so maybe these things haven't even met the roadmap yet, but you as kind of the product owner, when you're thinking about years down the road and trends and macro things going on in finance and technology, things like crypto and blockchain, and you mentioned AI a couple of times. So, what are your thoughts on things like that, how they might, play a part of this, knowing that some of them aren't even really integrated into the ecosystem yet, but I'm sure you've given some thought to those types of things. So any input there?
Yeah, I think One very interesting thing, you mentioned cryptocurrencies, and the thing that I think they introduced into all of our maybe cognizance is the sense of value is shifting a little bit, so that maybe, right now, value is inherently maybe the money I have in my checking account or the line of credit that I can extend to on my credit cards. But there might be other things that I have or own that hold value. Certainly, obviously, cryptocurrencies is one of them, but could be my loyalty points, could be my relationships with some merchants that hold a value. I mean, again, these concepts are not new. We have loyalty programs today, but I think what we might start seeing is, me as a consumer, how can I lean into all of these forms of value that are attached to me and make them interchangeable? And as a merchant, is that interesting? Is that interesting for me as a merchant to accept other forms of value from my customer, because maybe there is a use case for me for that value? Mm-hmm. Now I'm really stretching into some conjuring of my imagination here, but I'll get back to the point of value isn't just the thing that sits in my bank account or can translate into credit anymore. Maybe we'll see it first in P2P services, because maybe people will be more comfortable exchanging things that aren't hard currency. But I think what human beings start doing, get comfortable with very quickly carries into commerce. Social media is a good example. Influencers are, who would have thunk, right? That someone dancing on TikTok.
Right. What do you think about sort of, the way, and you kind of mentioned this, sort of the way consumers have taken to the Zelles of the world and the, those types of products, sort of almost, pay with your bank, which, we all do, at least I think most people do in some way, shape or form already, whether that's a lot of times setting up your bank account with your local utility or water company or whatever, where they're just taking the money out. That concept's been around forever. But do you ever think about being a day where a retailer, you'd go in to pay for your dry cleaning and you pay with your bank account somehow, as opposed to pulling out a card? I mean, is that something that you're seeing today in kind of that different use case, or you still think that's kind of futuristic?
No, I definitely see it. I think it's very cultural dependent. And I'll give you an example. I live in Canada, and here in Canada, we're not as credit loving as our neighbors in the US. It's still we have a very strong reliance on credit, but there is a form of payment here called Interac, which is our local debit scheme. And in the context of retail, people still very much love that form of payment, whereas in the context of online, they still go to their credit card. But I think if I go farther out into other countries or other geographies like Asia, India, or China, where we see more reliance on mobile wallets and mobile wallets, not just accessing, again, the cash on my bank account, but mobile wallets accessing cash through my mobile carrier. So through my mobile account, which is, again, those are things that I think happened organically in these markets, both because the technology and the rails to access what we know in the West here as traditional forms of payment weren't in place. So organically, they just developed the alternatives. And then it became also the behavior of, I'm already doing everything through my mobile phone. So now I have this super app on my phone, which allows me to pay my electric bill and shop in the supermarket and basically run my life through one device. We haven't seen that so much in North America yet, but I think in different geographies and different cultures, we're seeing different behaviors.
Yeah, and I can't believe that that's not coming. We talk about it a lot, and we've talked about it on this series about, Gen Z and them using mobile devices as their go-to for everything, and it has to be frictionless and all of that. I think there's other countries with Pix and other things like in Brazil. I mean, basically, if you have your phone, you don't need a wallet. You have everything you need. I think the U.S. is, I don't know about Canada, but I think the U.S. is getting there. I mean, today, the only reason I carry a wallet, quite honestly, is I have my driver's license in there.
That's same for me, and I live for the day in which I can have a digital driver's license and my digital insurance card and my digital, everything. That you're right. So I don't have to carry that wallet because I definitely don't like using cash anymore. And every other form of payment I have is tied to my wallet, my phone.
Yeah. So I definitely think that's some of these consumer trends that we've talked about, I think also kind of play into the future of the product that you're building. So as we come to the end of the series, we come to the end of this episode, is there anything else or anything that we've missed or anything else you want to talk about or maybe give the audience kind of a summary of what we've been covering, if you don't mind?
I think if anything comes through, if one thing comes through, I hope that it's the fact that what we do, we always do from the point of view of our customer, who is that small business, and trying to understand the challenges that they have, which are unique to them, different from the bigger enterprise businesses, whether it's cost, margin compression, competition, cash flow, and everything that we do is in order to meet those needs, but also to support them in their journey for growth so that they do grow and they go from that micro to small to medium-sized merchant, and to give them a good experience while they do it. So it's easy for them, it's cost-effective, it's a nice physical experience ergonomically, and that it does and it serves their customer well as well, the consumers. I hope that came through because that really is what we're so hyper-focused on and what we keep in mind all the time, what we all work for every day.
Well, Yael, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for being a big part of this series as well. I know your time is very valuable, so I really appreciate you being on the show today.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
And to all you listeners out there, I thank you for your time as well. And until the next story.
Thank you for tuning in today to this special series on Omnicommerce, brought to you by Worldpay. To learn more about Worldpay and their Omnicommerce products and solutions, please visit www.worldpay.com/en/products/commerce360.